Right.
And my whole goal was to do it and get out, not do it and make it a career out of it. Do it, get out, and get to where I got to go and try and figure out something. So I didn't want to make a career long, I wasn't trying to be a career criminal or nothing like
Right.
that. It's funny how things turn out.
Hey, this is Matt Cox, and we're about to do a podcast on Cass. Cass is going to explain real quick about. So it's because I have different pictures and articles and stuff, and so the name's a little confusing because I got Raphael, and I've got Marcellus.
Yeah.
So but you go by Cass. So
Yes,
okay.
correct.
All right. So, and that because that's like a DJ name, you said.
Yeah, so I've been DJing for about the last maybe 10 years now or something like that. Yeah, so I was doing other stuff before DJing. I was always into music, but I started DJing about 10 years ago, like traveling, making money.
Okay.
And it was a big money maker for me, and so everybody knows me as Cass pretty much.
All right. So Cass has an amazing story about being on the run, getting fake passports. It's basically just it's just one crime after another. But then also turning his life around, going to school, getting caught. How much prison time did you do?
I only did about a little over a year and a half. It was a year and a half, yeah.
Year and a half prison time. So, but anyway, so we're gonna go ahead and get into it. So I'm gonna just basically where were you born?
No problem, man. I was born in Los Angeles, California. Raised there pretty much until I finished high school. Growing up there, basically, it was me and my mom most of the time. I had a little brother as well.
Right.
My father, he was there in and out. I don't think it was all his fault. There was problems, but I was too young to even know what was going on. But that was where I grew up, and my mom always tried to keep me out of, let's say, it was just her, so she tried to keep us out of, let's say, the ghetto areas, things
Right.
like that. But growing up out there is kind of hard to, especially when she's going all the time working, so if you end up wandering out to see different things,
Right.
stuff like that. But my childhood, I was the oldest, so I had to grow up really quick. So I think by the time I was maybe 13, 14, I was the one kind of in charge of my house, pretty much taking care of my little brother, making sure the house runs smoothly while my mom was working, things like that.
Right. So, okay. Well, so, I mean, at what point did you start getting into trouble? I mean, first of all, were you graduate high school? Were you in high school when you got in trouble? Or
well, actually, see, it's a funny thing is, growing up as a kid, I was kind of I was a good kid actually growing up. I never really got into too much trouble. Now, I would go hang out in the streets on stuff like that because I had family members that did,
Right.
and I would hang them out. But a lot of my family members saw that I was really smart book-wise. And what they wanted me to be was smart book-wise and have street knowledge. And they were like, you're the one that's going to do something with yourself. You're the one that's going to be something. We don't want you hanging out here after a certain time or things like that. So luckily I had that presence.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's good because a lot of times people will try and pull you down. They see that and they actually try and stop you from excelling.
And I had friends actually that did that. They were like, the crab in the bucket theory. They saw that I was doing good in school. I had good grades, everything. So I was doing good in school. I was on the varsity basketball team. I played football, ran track. I did it all pretty much, as a model kid growing up. And like I said, I had family members that were they were out on the street, and then they saw that I was doing better than they were, so they pushed me to keep doing good, that I'm the one that's going to make it out. So I graduated high school and everything, and even after high school, I was still doing pretty good. I used to get in some trouble here and there, but just little stuff, and never really got caught with nothing or anything like that, thank God. But it was just little things. But even after high school, I left and went out of state actually and moved to Colorado. In Colorado, there's a lot of military bases there. You have the Air Force Base, Army's there. See, my mom was in the military as well. So I was I had a lot of family members in the military. So I was going to follow my family members and join the military and go to the Air Force. And pretty much that's where life kind of messed up for me, actually. Start making a little wrong decisions here and there.
What year was that?
That was, I think, year 2001, around 2000, 2001, somewhere around there, actually, is when I moved to Colorado Springs. Like I said, I was going to join the Air Force, and I was working and everything. I had my own apartment. and I actually had a couple roommates with me. And where life kind of turned around for me was rent was due coming up. My roommate, he ended up moving out, and or not moving out, he actually left. Sorry, he left. And when rent was due, so I was like, what the hell? So I go into his room. Only thing in his room was a TV. So at that time, we didn't have cell phones. We had pagers, two-way pagers. So I'm trying to get a hold of him, things like that. Finally, he calls me back like 7 days later, whatever it is. He goes, hey, I left the TV in the room. Go take the TV. You can go sell that, make some money, whatever. Sorry, this bro. I'll owe you rest of the money later. Da, da, da. I never heard from him again.
Of course.
Yeah, so I took the TV. I went to go pawn the TV. Pawn the TV, got like a couple $100 from it, paid my rent. Everything's fine. So fast forward a little bit, I'm actually in a relationship now, and I have my woman. She's pregnant with my first child, and when I'm young, I think maybe 22 or something like that. I was really young, so I was out partying all the time, pretty much, right? So I would be partying stuff like that or whatever. So I was out at a party one time, and this is maybe a year later after I pawned a TV or somewhere on. I don't remember exactly. I'm driving, I get pulled over. So I get pulled over, the cop comes, grabs my license, registration. I'm like, sure. I made an illegal U-turn, didn't know I did.
Were you in the military though?
No.
You were that was your plan, but
that was my plan.
Happened.
So I was trying to join the Air Force, and I had to take like the ASVAB test. I had to do a lot of stuff to do what I wanted to do.
Right.
I was prolonging some things. I started making friends,
Right.
But my whole goal was to join the Air Force, actually. So I never made it there.
Right. Okay.
So a cop pulls me over, and then when he pulls me over, he's takes my driver's license, goes back to the car. I'm thinking everything's fine. I've been pulled over plenty of times now. Now driving in Los Angeles is totally different than driving in Colorado. Yeah. Los Angeles cops don't mess with you. You can speed all day long. If you're going too slowly, they might pull you over. Colorado's a different story. 10 miles over speed limit to pulling you over. So I used to get a bunch of traffic tickets. So I'm thinking to myself, oh, hope I paid this traffic ticket off. I'm thinking how many. So the cop comes back. I notice four other cop cars come.
It's not a good sign.
Yes. So I'm like, what the hell did I do? Is it because I'm black? What the hell's going on? So the cop comes up. He goes, yeah, so we need you to step out the car, sir. So I'm being very respectful. And I think he sees that. So he takes me out the car, and he's like, I just want to let you know that you have some warrants for your arrest.
Some?
Yes, some. So my eyes light up, and he goes, oh, you don't know about them, I guess. And I'm like, no. And he goes, well, turn around and put the cuffs on you. So puts me in the back of the cop car, and he tells me, yes, so you have a warrant for burglary, theft, false information to a pawn shop, and I think two other, I don't remember them all. Those are the main three that I remember. So I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah. And he goes, your bond's $10,000. And I'm like, how the hell? So luckily, since I was being respectful to him, I called a friend. My friend grabbed my car for me. I told him. So we didn't have money to bond me out of jail or anything like that. So I was in jail for like the first 2 or 3 weeks before I got bonded out. I still don't know exactly what's going on. So I end up talking like months later with my public defender. They show me my discovery, things like that or whatever. Oh, yeah, don't never try and get a real lawyer if you ever get in trouble. Trust me. So end up talking with them. My public defender explains to me, yeah, so you pawned a TV at such and such a pawn shop. That TV was burglarized out of somebody's house. So somebody broke into the person's house, took the TV and a bunch of items and everything else. I got stuck with the TV. I pawned the TV.
Right.
So, I had false information to a pawn shop. That was the other charge as well, too. So the lawyer told me, I'll get all these other things dropped, but I need you to plead false information to a pawn shop. So I didn't want to go back to jail. So I'm like, yeah, sure. I didn't ask what the repercussions were or anything like that. I'm like, I'll plead to it. I didn't even know it was a felony at the time. Didn't know nothing. So I pled to it. I think they gave me like 2 years unsupervised probation or something like that. So I was like,
basically just don't get in trouble again.
Yeah,
you don't have to show up. You don't have to do anything, but just
don't get in trouble. So I ended up, I was like, so that kind of woke me up a little bit. So I ended up going to.
What happened with your buddy? You never said, hey, this fucking guy gave me a TV.
Never heard from him again. So if he's out there, I got in trouble for your TV. Never heard from him again ever.
Because that one event spiraled
everything.
He's the one that got he may have burglarized, he may have just bought or gotten the burglarized TV. You don't really know. So, but that one event spiraled you onto this whole fucking thing.
You got it. So, it's funny how something like that can just change your life.
Oh, I can look back and looking back and pinpoint exactly. That's when it all went wrong for me. You know, of course, I made every wrong decision along the way. Yeah, I made multiple longer, but that's definitely the one that really started it.
Yeah, and I never heard from him again. But that incident kind of woke me up, and I was like, let me get on joining this military thing. So I went to go talk to a recruiter at the Air Force, and he goes, "Oh, you have a felony. You can't join." So what? You have because I didn't know that was a felony.
Right.
He goes, "You can't join." So I'm like, "Oh, now what am I going to do?" So I went to the Army, and they were like, "Yeah, you just got convicted of felony. You got to wait a few years to join." And I'm like, "Whoa, what the hell?" Not only that, I'm also on probation, even though it's unsupervised, but I guess you can't join while you're on any type of paperwork or something like that. I don't know if it's different now, but at that time you couldn't, I guess. Right. So they kept telling me, no, I couldn't. So I'm like, oh, what the hell am I going to do now? So I'm pissed, mad at him. He's like, what the hell, da-da-da-da-da. So basically after that, I started hanging out with some of the guys that I actually met in jail. Or whatever, because you exchange numbers. Right. He seems cool, things like that.
He's all right.
He seems all right. He seems like a cool guy. So I started hanging out with some of the guys I met in jail. Mistake number 2. That's where a lot of my stuff goes wrong from there. So I was running the streets with them, things like that. Never really got caught doing anything, but we were just always partying, that type of stuff, just being irresponsible, as a young 20-year-old. I ended up working for a company called MCI. I don't know if you remember that company.
Of course I know MCI. I just interviewed a guy that had worked for MCI. He was part of the whole collapse, the whole thing. Oh, it's great. His name's Walt Pavlo.
That guy owes me a check still.
That guy, God, I forget how many tens of millions of dollars. It was a massive scheme that he was involved in.
Oh yeah. So I'm working at the call center that they had there. And I'm doing good. I think I worked there for about maybe 6-7 months, and I'm doing good because I had this skill that I can sell things didn't know I had. So I'm selling, service over the phone to these people, cold calling, doing very well, things like that. And once I get good, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be here for this. Well, one day we show up, and the whole place is just pretty much closed down. The doors are locked. Nobody gives us a warning or anything like that. And we don't know what to do. And after that, I go home and I don't know what to do. I'm like, I can't get a job anywhere else because I got this felony on my record. Nobody wants to hire me. I was lucky. Actually, I think I lied my way to get into that job. I don't remember exactly what I did, but I remember lying some sort of way to get that job or whatever. So I don't remember how I did it, but I did it. So I'm thinking like, where am I going to work now? What am I going to do? At this time, the lady that I'm with, she already gave birth to my son. So I'm looking at him like, how am I going to take care of everything? She was working at a place too. And the place that she was working at actually ended up closing down as well. They give everybody like a 2-week notice. Right. So I'm thinking like, I got to take responsibility. Because I always grew up as being a responsible one. I got to take responsibility. What am I going to do? So what do? I resort to the friends that I met in jail. Right. Of how am I going to make some quick money? And pretty much that's when life even went worse for me from there. So I'm hanging out with them. Bills are coming up, stuff like that. So that's when I started basically turning to the streets to do a lot of things. So I ran into this guy, and this guy was like, hey, I know another guy, that can help you out. So I met with this guy. The guy was from like Ukraine something, I don't know. And he goes, we need somebody basically to help us pretty much theft these cars. So I'm thinking, cars from people? And he's like, no, from dealerships. So I'm like, or from dealerships? He goes, yeah, I'm not going to explain too much about it. But basically, I need a crew or I need somebody to just grab these cars and then take them here. Right. Or whatever. So I'm like, all right. So I'm waiting a couple months or whatever it is. So within that time while I'm waiting, I'm still hanging out with my friends. We're out in the streets causing all kind of trouble, mischief, things like that. Just little stuff, not big stuff though. So finally I get a call, or I should say a page, I think at the time or whatever it was.
Right.
And tells me I call back and tells me, I need you to go here and pick this up. So I go
Give
and
the keys to the cars?
yeah, pretty much the key. Yeah, like there was everything was set up for you already. So pretty much I go, and next thing you know, I go to this dealership and there's like tons of, I'm not talking about I'm talking about a big dealership too. So I'm seeing like keys there's cars everywhere. And then after that, there's like directions that they give me or whatever. And the directions were like, look over here, there's a lockbox for a key for a car, right? Some of them come in plastic, some of them are metal. Well, all these were in plastic. And they're like, well, if you look on the windshield, you'll find one with the lockbox. The key is inside. Just open it up, get in the car, and drive off. So I'm looking like, where's this car at? They didn't give me a color. So I happen to see this bright blue lockbox. I'm like, I think that's it. Open up, key, drive off. Hold the car for a couple days, da-da-da. Come to find out, I think they were testing me at first just to see, So, anyway, the guy ends up coming to pick the car up like a few days later. And he goes, all right, I see that, you can do this. And he has his accent, so you can barely understand what he's saying. I see that you can do this. I'll send you some more work. So next thing you know, he tells me about 3 cars. And I'm like, all right.
What are you getting per car? They're paying you something?
Yeah, they are paying me. So it all depends on what it was, to be honest with you. It could be anywhere from a few $100s to almost $1,000. Just depends. It depends on how far, because every time the drop-offs were always somewhere different too.
Right.
They weren't always the same. So it just all depended on what it was. So eventually I ended up getting like a little crew together, because I couldn't the guy would tell me go get 3 cars, and I can't go get 3 by myself. I have to go get one, drop it off, go get the other one, drop it off, go get so
yeah.
And I'm scared of getting caught, because I've never done nothing like this, but I just know I'm making some money.
Right. So the risk is from picking up the car to actually the point where you have to drop it off. Is it 100 miles? Is it 30 miles?
Well, most of it was kind of far. So most of it was about anywhere from, I would say, 75 to about 150 miles. So it was kind of.
So if you get grabbed in that time, you're just fucked.
Pretty much, yes. And these guys, the one guy I know looks like a type of guy you don't want to mess around with, So
Right.
if you get grabbed, you just get grabbed, and you better just bite the bullet.
Right. Well,
So
Ukrainian mob or.
yeah, I had a feeling, but like to this day, I still don't know. I don't know, but you just get that feeling from certain people,
I know a guy who was with the Albanian mob, and he this is a guy that was in prison with me for kidnapping someone, duct taping him to a chair,
Oof.
and taking a cattle prod to his nuts until he came up with $100,000 that he owed his boss.
Oh, man.
And he was one of those guys that you looked at and you knew, like,
Yeah.
you don't tell on this motherfucker. like, you just do the time.
Oh, man.
There's some people I look at and I think, oh, I'm telling on that motherfucker. I'm telling on him.
You're going down because you ain't going to do
you better
shit.
hope they talk to you before they talk to me. This guy's like, yeah, I'm just going to not say anything.
Yeah, I'm
Probably
just gonna take this one.
Yeah.
Never. You might see me in the cell one day and kill me or something.
Sitting on the street. And kill me. Yeah.
But he was one of those type of guys that you just kind of tell. So I just learned early not to ask questions. Don't ask any questions about this guy. So so I'm basically I got a little crew together now. Got a couple guys, and this is what we're doing. After a while, I'm trying to put the timeline together for you how correctly. So after a while, I kind of slowed down a little bit. Well, I had 2 cars sitting where I was living at, waiting to get dropped off.
Right.
And I'm waiting for 2 of my guys to come get them dropping off, because I'm at the point now where I ain't really got to do much. Or whatever.
Yeah, you get that good crime money.
Yeah.
Starts piling up and you start getting lazy.
You got it. So I'm sitting there. Well, actually, sorry, this is early in the morning. For some reason, I'm up. I don't know why. Maybe 7 a.m. I don't know why I'm up. I think my son woke up or something. I don't remember. So, like, boom, boom, boom. Oh, shit. I think that's the police.
Yeah, they have a knock.
Yeah. So,
Not the.
yeah. Look through the peephole, of course. What do I see? They got the finger of the peephole.
Yeah.
Don't answer. I don't say not one word. We just sit there for a little bit. Boom, boom, boom. They're knocking for about a good 15 minutes. They stop. So where I live at, it was like an apartment complex. you can open up the blinds and you can see like where I had the vehicles located at. So I kind of peek through the blinds and I see 3 cop cars. The cars that were there that we had are gone. And then in return, there's a cop car in each spot or whatever. So I'm like, oh shit. So
they're being cute.
Yeah.
Right.
First thing I'm thinking, like, who told on me? That's the first thing I'm thinking, like, who told on me? Who said something? Somebody had to say something. So eventually the cops leave. I don't know if they thought I wasn't home or not. So I'm thinking, like, I don't want to go out the front door. I don't know because they might be waiting for me,
Right.
They're not dumb. So I'll wait for about a good hour and eventually open up a side window, crawl out the window and just take off, whatever, right? Left. From there, I end up going to a friend's house, told him what happened. He's down for the calls. He's like, yeah, you can stay here as long as you want, bro. I got you. One of the friends I met from jail, actually.
Yeah.
I got you, bro. I got you. So I'm like, I'm not staying here. I'm not staying in the city that I got to get out. So I ended up leaving a couple of days later and got out the city. I left, went out of state. I think I went to Nevada or something like that. So I'm out in Nevada for about maybe a good 5-6 months, doing all right, doing fine. I'm laying low, I'm not working anything. I'm just laying low. And I get
how long did you do the car thing for?
I didn't do it that long. I only did it for maybe 4 or 5 months, something like that. It wasn't that long. Yeah.
So it's not like you've got a huge amount of stockpiled money.
Yeah. So I just did it enough just to get me to where I needed to be.
Right.
And my whole goal was to do it and get out, not do it and make it a career out of it. Do it, get out, and get to where I got to go and try and figure out something. So I didn't want to make a career long, I wasn't trying to be a career criminal or nothing like that. It's funny how things turn out, but that wasn't my goal or whatever. So I'm in Vegas, so let's say maybe this is a year from when it's all started, the whole car thing. So I'm in Vegas. I'm sitting there. I get a call. From my friend. He's like, hey, you're all over Crime Stoppers. And I'm like, Crime Stoppers for what? He's like, there's all kind of stuff. You're wanted for hostage situation. There's a bank robbery, all kind of things. And I'm like, whoa. Time out. Whoa. So he's calling me Warren. I'm thinking he's lying.
Right.
I don't know. So at that time, there was no internet. I mean, there's no like Facebook. They can't show you any articles or anything like that. We didn't have access really to that stuff because this is maybe like 2003-ish or 4-ish, something around there. I'm not sure, 3-ish. So I'm like, so I got to take his word for it. And I'm like, okay. So I know to basically lay low even more now. So I'm pretty much nervous. I'm having nightmares every night deciding what to do. So maybe a month or 2 months later, my son, who's still back in Colorado, gets sick or something like that. And I was real big on trying to be there, for my son. So he's really sick. So I'm like, oh, man, what do I have to do? I can't not sit here and why he's over there suffering because he's only, I think he was a year and a half or 2 years at that time. So I was like, and I remember my dad not being around. So I was like, I got to go back. So I actually went back to go see about him. So when I went back, I went to go stay with the friend who helped me out the first time. So I'm staying with him, and he's got 2 more other people staying there now. So I'm at his house, and I'm probably there maybe a month or something like that. My whole plan was to leave and get out and go back to where I was. Didn't happen at all. One morning, wake up, once again to that bang, 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 bang at the door. Wake me up, and this house is like a 2-story house. And I'm on the 2nd floor. The bedroom I'm in is facing the backyard. So I know that knock. I'm like, oh, shit, let me climb out this back window and jump backyard, run out, I look throughout the back window. There's a cop in this yard, cop's in this yard.
They don't knock on the front door till they got the back covered.
Yeah. So I look and I'm like, holy shit, helicopter. I can hear the helicopter in the sky. I'm like, what the fuck? So in Colorado, all the houses have basements. So in the basement, there was a crawl space. So I managed to make my way to the basement, get in this little crawl space that had like a piece of wood that's like covering the crawl space or whatever. And inside the crawl space, there's a pipe. I'm crawled up the pipe because I'm small. I crawl up the pipe and I'm hiding in there. And I'm under the stairwell in the house, like deep in the house. You can't see. You have to know I was there.
Right.
Really.
And the cops aren't going to look that hard.
Yes.
Probably. They're probably not going to send somebody up.
Yeah. So they're in this house and they're looking for me. And I can hear everything as I'm in the stairwell. So I can hear them run up and down the stairs. I can hear them questioning people. Where is he at? Da, 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 da. So far, nobody's saying nothing. I can even hear when they open up the basement and open up the closet where I'm at. I can hear that. And around a crawl space is a little bit of light from the piece of wood that's blocking this little hole that I'm in. So I can see like the door opening up. I hear them footsteps coming. I'm like, oh, damn, they're close. And all of a sudden he leaves again. I'm like, yes, they didn't, So the guy goes, are you sure he's not in here? Because we can't, da-da-da-da. And you can hear him on the radio talking to somebody or whatever. Whoever he's talking to, I guess the guy is telling him, keep looking or whatever. And the guy's trying to say.
They must have seen you go in.
Yeah, the guy's trying to say.
He didn't come out.
Yeah, so the guy's trying to say, yeah, he's not here, such and such, basically like we're wasting our time. So then all of a sudden I start hearing whispering, like, pss, 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 pss. And I'm like, why are they whispering? What's going on?
Somebody's telling them.
15 minutes later, the door opens back up. And I'm like, oh, shit. Guy comes in there. This time you see a flashlight. Oh, whatever. He leaves. I'm like, all right. Now a flashlight and you hear a dog.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh.
I'm coming out.
Yeah.
I'm coming out.
No, I'm still there. I'm holding on to the last hope. Still there. So all of a sudden that little piece of board slides out the way. And I'm looking down like this on the pipe because I'm crawled all the way up. The dog comes through, looks at me. I look at the dog. I'm like, I'm about to get bit. Dog doesn't do nothing. Walks back out the hole. And I'm like, did this dog just, what the hell's going on? So then I hear the cop go, what the hell's going on? And he goes into the hole. I see his head, sees the pipe, and it flashes up and looks at me. Got him! Pulls me down by my leg. Those cops are so pissed. They pull me down by my leg. He lets the dog bite me there. Oh yeah, he lets the dog bite me there, and then pulls me down my leg. Now in this basement,
he lets the dog bite you.
He lets the dog bite me. There's broken glass in the basement. He's pulling me along his broken glass. My pants are ripped. I'm bleeding everywhere. They basically hog tie me. They're just so mad because they're in that house looking for me forever.
Yeah.
Finally, they have me up against the wall. Have me handcuffed. They have a picture. Like, yep, that's him. That's him. I'm like, okay. So finally, they take me out. I have no shoes on. My pants are ripped up.
This is for car theft?
Well, remember, I also have for that other stuff that I was in trouble for, which I didn't know about. So they end up, which I found at the time odd, but as I got older, I see why they did this. So I'm bleeding everywhere. So then they take me to some parking lot that really has nobody in it, and they have a paramedic meet me to make sure I'm fine, I guess. I'm thinking, why is there a paramedic meeting in abandoned parking lot? Now that I'm older, I'm like, they didn't want nobody to see what was going on, that, basically let the dog bite me and everything else. So paramedic was like, he's fine, he can go. So they take me to the county jail. Now, they don't take me into intake right away. They take me into a little interview room. So I'm sitting there, two detectives come in, and then they come in and they go, so you know why you're arrested? I'm like, no, I'm playing dumb. I don't tell them myself. I'm like, so they're like, so, you've been caught red-handed. Da, 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 da. I'm like, caught red-handed doing what? They're not telling me anything. So the guy's phone rings. He leaves, comes back in. He goes, listen, we got to get to the point. Where were you this time of the day? And such and such and such. I wasn't even in the state because this is something maybe that happened while I was gone.
So this is somebody that looks like you.
Yeah. So I'm like, I wasn't in the state. He's like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, I can verify that. I'll tell you right now, I was not here in this state. I have proof I was not in this state, such and such and such, this and that. Like, I have a bus ticket under it because at the time you can get a bus ticket. You could tell me any name you wanted to and get on the bus. So I was like, I have a bus ticket under this name. You could probably look it up. I might even still have it in my backpack you guys ripped apart under a different name that shows I left. So come to find out, I guess those people that I had doing stuff with me, well, they took it steps further, a lot further. They started just doing all kinds of things. They started robbing houses. They started breaking into people's homes. They held some people hostage. That's where the hostage thing came from. They tried to rob it. They tried to do all kinds of things. And I guess when they got caught, blamed it on me and said I was the head guy in charge since I was gone. So they tried to say that I was a ringleader. I did all this. So I had to take a lie detector test. I passed that, and then there was proof that I was not even there during this time. Right. So thank God I wasn't there. And so all those charges, I never got found guilty, or I should say they had to drop all those. So I had I think 3 Grand Theft Auto charges they had on me or something like that, plus my original charge. So 4 felonies now. So go back to jail. Now my bond's even more. It's like 25, 30 grand or something like that, sitting here in jail. This time I don't remember if I bond out or not. I just remember sitting there for a while. Now I don't go to prison yet, actually. They put me on a work release program, actually. So work release, you can go to work,
right,
turn yourself back in. So I'm doing that for about 2 or 3 months. Start hanging out with the guys I met from jail the first time, partying and everything else. End up getting drunk one night and don't go back. So don't go back. Now they hit me with an escape charge or whatever. Don't learn from me, guys. Please don't learn from me. So you get hit with an escape charge. I wasn't on the run that long because I was still in the same city,
right,
or whatever. I don't know if I felt invincible at this time or just gave up. I don't know. So maybe like 3 weeks. I'm in a car with somebody else who was AWOL from the army.
right.
So they're looking for him too. So we're in some parking lot. A cop, I guess, just runs a play. I don't know exactly what happened to this day. Next thing you know, we get caught, back to jail again. This time I know I'm going, I'm getting locked up.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
It's not kiddie camp.
Yeah, I know this time. Yeah, I'm prepared. I'm like, yeah, I'm getting some time this time. So I basically I'm in jail, probably like county jail for like 6-7 months. Takes a while. I end up getting a court-appointed attorney, firing my public defender because public defender wanted me to take a deal for like 15 years or something like that, whatever. Because escape charge at that time, it was a maximum of like 12 years or whatever. And you had to do a minimum, I think, of 4 or 6 or something like that. I don't remember. But there's a minimum, every state has a minimum. So it was a minimum of 4 or 6 I had to do, on
right,
top of the other charges I was already in trouble for.
Right.
So he wanted me to take this plea deal, end up firing him. They got a court-appointed attorney. He helped me out a little more. So the judge they end up sentencing me to 10 years prison. That was my original charge. So
how much time do you have to do on a 10-year bid on the state?
At that time is
this Colorado?
This is Colorado. So, but the rules changed since from then to now. A lot of it's changed. Back then, I think I had to do 60%. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I know I had to do more back then than you do now. Now it's like if it's violent, it's only 33%.
Right.
So if you get a 10-year, you're doing about 3.5 years if you're good.
And do you go on parole at that time, or is it just that's the most you did 33%? You're good.
No, you go on parole,
okay,
and you can go to halfway house. I think at like 20% or something like that, or whatever. If it's nonviolent in Colorado, so they changed.
I need to go to Colorado,
right? With all the weed, man. That's what happened. So they changed it, but back then it was different. So all my crimes are nonviolent, and it was my first time. It was a first-time offender. So the judge actually recommended me for a prison boot camp. They don't have that no more in that state anyway, but at the time they did. So he goes, if you graduate the boot camp program, I'll make sure you come back, and I'll give you reconsideration. I'll give you another chance.
Right.
Because they saw that even like growing up as a kid, I didn't have any troubles. They were just amazed that all of a sudden I turned 22 and I get all these felonies out the blue. Like, what the hell happened with you or whatever. So I end up going to prison. I have to go like to the whole waiting facility, which is like a medium or whatever it is.
Right.
Sitting there for about a good 4 months or something like that. They end up sending me to South Park, Colorado, which I didn't even know was a real place, like South Park. Yeah. Real place. Never knew that till then. So they sent me to South Park, Colorado. There's a prison facility there. So now I'm sitting there waiting too. I'll wait there for another 3 months. Now from there, I go to the prison boot camp. So then I go to this prison boot camp, which is in like Buena Vista, Colorado, I think it was, if I remember correctly.
What year is this?
This was 2004, I think 4.
All right.
So go there, and I'm in the prison boot camp. By the way, which is not easy. That's probably the hardest thing I ever did in my life. I went through Hell Week in football and everything. This was tops all of it. You go on a squad. They send you on a bus. They really don't prepare you. It's about, I think it was a little over 100 of us on this bus. We get there. They take the cuffs off us. You're shackled up. They take the shackles off. So we're in this bus like, oh, our shackles off. Yeah. This drill sergeant walks in, big as hell, buff. everybody stand up. And of course, you got some tough thugs in there. They're like, forget you. So they have this bill, the hat with a bill. And they base their training off like the old 60s Marine, 50s Marine training.
Yeah.
Takes the bill and goes like that into the bridge of your nose. Guy's nose cuts right open. Everybody stands up like, oh shit, you know. So we stand up, get off the bus, got us going these drills. The whole system basically, I think it was like 5 months it took. Only 22 of us graduated out of 100 and something. That's how hard it is. 22 of us graduated.
And if they don't graduate, now you just go to prison.
You go to prison.
So these guys came to the conclusion, I'm just going to go to prison.
Yes. Now, the one thing they did do good, I would say, was those people that ran the prison boot camp, they would not let you quit. So even if you wanted to quit, they would give you like 3 or 4 chances. They would put you in a room, let you cool off, and then maybe somebody will come talk to you. Do you have a family out? Da-da-da-da-da. Please. If you went there and let's say, because we're all knew each other before, we're all waiting together. So they would come up to you like, hey, Matt, you know such and such, right? Do you think maybe you want to talk to him? You know more about him than me. I'll let you go talk to him. You guys have some one-on-one time.
Yeah.
Try and talk him out of not quitting. So I will say they did.
Yeah.
They did kind of care about you, you know, about where you were going in life.
Well, then you got to get frustrated and exhausted. And you're like, you get exhausted. And you're just like, I just want to quit. Like, I'll do anything to get out of this situation.
Oh yeah, because the first 2 months they don't tell you to after you and you're about to graduate. The first 2 months they break you down. It's to break you down, then they start building you back up. So they talk about your mom, they talk about your kids, they do whatever they can to break you down to your most lowest point, and then they build you back up. So I mean, yeah, it was very hard. And there was girls in there too. It was co-ed. So we had girls. Every girl made it. There was 4 girls, they all made it. So out of the 22, the 4 girls made it. The toughest guys did not make it. All the big gangsters and thugs, they rather would go to prison. They couldn't do it. So I ended up not graduating, but also as a squad leader. So I had like high honors actually. So when I graduated, I'm sitting there waiting for my reconsideration. Well, while I'm waiting for my reconsideration, they call me into the counselor's office. So I go to the counselor's office and she goes, I need you to sit down. Well, while I'm sitting down, there's also a chaplain there or a priest or whatever. And she goes, just to let you know, I got a phone call, that your wife, she wasn't my wife, but, they've been into an accident and your son passed away. So, that was like my worst fears because I've always wanted to be there for him. The reason why I even went to boot camp was to graduate, come out, be back with him in his life, stuff like that or whatever, So once they told me that, everything just like crashed. I didn't know what to do. Basically, they tell you that, say I'm sorry, and then they send you back.
Right.
So now you're back to where you're at. They had a service. Now I was allowed to go to the service. They escorted me to the service. I really couldn't do much. I had to be in the back. I was cuffed, stuff like that. After the service, I got sent back. All the drill instructors, boot camp instructors, they all feel bad for me.
Yeah.
They're all like, we never seen nothing like this. Is horrible. Da, da, da. So they're all wishing for me the best, this and that.
Right.
So,
but you still have to go to the program.
Yeah. So, graduate and everything. So after that, they send me back to county jail for reconsideration. So I go to my reconsideration. County jail, the judge finds out everything that happens. They're reading, the DA's even reading good things about me. I've never seen that before in my life. The DA, he stands up and goes, I've been to the boot camp. This guy graduated honors. I think he deserves a second chance, this and that, da, da, da. So I'm saying like, wow, looking at him like, they never say anything good. I'm like, okay, I did something good. The judge finds out about what happens to my son. He's like, I told you, I promised you if you graduate, I will reconsider you. So they considered me for a halfway house. They lowered my term. I think it was from 10 to 4 years in a halfway house. So I ended up going to the halfway house. The halfway house is only 10 minutes down the street from pretty much where my son's buried at. Never got to see where he's buried at. I needed to make peace. I just needed that or whatever. Because you're used to, not used to, but you expect your parents to die, right? You expect that to happen. But when your kid dies, it's like you're supposed to be their protector. It's like you're not used to that. There's nobody that can consult you. Nobody knows how you feel unless they've been through that too.
Right.
So I'm trying to figure out what to do. So I go talk with the counselor at the halfway house and I'm like, listen, I need to go make peace with my son just for my mental stability, because I wasn't there when it happened. And basically she's like, I'll tell you what, if you go out, go do what you have to do. Pay your fines. I need you to go get a job. And, then we can talk about that, and I probably will let you go. So I said, all right. So I'm in a halfway house for about a good month. I actually go out and get 2 jobs. I get a night and a day job. I barely sleep. I go to the halfway house, sleep 3 hours a day. That's it.
Right.
My first checks, I give it all to the halfway house. I'm like, here's my, because you got to pay rent too.
Yeah.
So here's my rent. Here's money for my fines. Here's extra money for my fines. I went and did everything I was supposed to do. Can I go visit my son now? And she's like, sorry, no, you can't go. Why? Because there's no landline phone. So everywhere I had to go had to be a landline phone. There's no landline phone at a graveyard because you weren't supposed to have cell phones at the time.
Well, she knew that when she told you to do all this shit.
Yes. So I'm upset. I go to walk out. There's a guy that works there at the front desk that you check in at the halfway house. He hears everything. He goes, tell you what, I'll let you go. You go right now, and I'll cover for you like you went to go to Walmart to buy some hygiene stuff or something. All right.
Right.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks
that doesn't make sense to me because you'll let me go to Walmart. You'll let me go to the pharmacy to get medication. You'll let me go to the doctor.
Yes.
There's no landline. I don't have to I don't check in when I go to Walmart for 2 hours.
Yes, but you can go get hygiene stuff,
right?
Which made no sense. So
right.
I didn't get the whole logic of that.
Right.
So
and you weren't going to spend saying, hey, I need to go here for 2 days. You're saying,
yeah.
let me go see my son's. Let me go for an hour.
Yeah, just
come
to
back.
Make peace, say bye, whatever I have to do,
right.
grieve. Because I never had it. You can't grieve in jail. You can't. You know that you can't grieve in jail. So I never got a chance to grieve. So it was kind of late during the day, like maybe 6 or 7 o'clock or whatever. The guy goes, sure, go ahead. So I leave. I go. Get to the grave. There's a guard there. And the guard's like, yeah, the cemetery's closed. Sorry. So I'm trying to explain to him, hey, I just want to go see my son. Da 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 da. Guy's like, sorry, can't go. Do you want me to call the police? I'm like, oh. So I end up leaving. I go back to the halfway house. When I go back, I go to check back in, that from my hygiene stuff. Well, my counselor's right there instead. And she goes, yeah, you were where you're supposed to be at. I'm like, I didn't tell her, I didn't tell her that the guy let me go. I didn't want to tell on him or nothing like that because I've never been that type of person. She goes, well, just let you know you violated and the police are on their way to come get you. And I need you to sit right there.
Nah, I'm not sitting here.
I flipped the table. I flipped everything I could and I walked out. I ran. There was a highway across, the halfway house was sitting next to the highway. I remember running out. Even ran across the highway. I don't even know where the hell I was running to. Ran across the highway. I'm dodging cars. Basically left. Never went back. The next day I even left the state and never went back. And that was the start of my journey of pretty much dodging the law was from there. So I basically left the state after that. Went to a whole different state. I think I went to Nevada. I went to Las Vegas actually.
Right.
Was in Las Vegas for a little bit. Funny thing is, I was out there and I started hanging out with this girl that was out there who was also on the run.
How do you find people on the run so easily? This is the second person you mentioned that was also on the run.
I don't know. I guess it's
I never met anybody on the run when I was on the run.
I guess it's what you're attracted to. I don't know what it was, but I was staying at this place. Actually, because Vegas, there's a lot of hotels, whatever. So they have weekly hotels. I'm staying in a weekly hotel, and she's there with her mom, and she's on the run too from some probation violation from a different state. I don't remember exactly. So we're in a car one day. She's driving around, and next thing you know, cops go to pull her over. They pull her over. Now, I don't have my ID or driver's license on me. I throw mine away or whatever the hell it is. They pull her over. Now, she didn't know my real name. Thank God. I told her a fake name. I don't remember what I told her because this is the part where I got to start giving people fake names.
Right.
So the cop takes her, gets ready to has her in handcuffs. They're questioning me, asking why I don't have a driver's license on the strip of Las Vegas. Like why I'm making up some story. I don't remember. I lost it in some casino. I don't remember. So anyway, they end up letting me go. And then from there, I'm thinking, I got to get a name. I got to figure out what to do, this and that. So I end up jumping on a Greyhound bus and going all the way to the East Coast, pretty much. And that was how I ended up on this side of the, of America. So I ended up taking a bus going to the East Coast. I think I went to, New York first? I think it was New York. So I ended up going there, and I started thinking about how am I going to get a name. da 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 da. So the funny thing is, me and you have something similar when it came to the whole name thing about, remember how you say how you got yours from like the homeless people or whatever it was. Da, da, da. So mine was kind of similar, but a little different or whatever. I didn't go around, I didn't ask them the questions, but what I would do was I would basically, I was very good at scoping people out, very good at that. So I would scope somebody out and I'd be like, all right, looks like they're not doing much with their life.
Right.
You know, they're not doing much. What if they'll let me pay them to basically, you know, let me, you know, use their name? So I would try and figure out a way to, I was always a hustler. So I would hustle up some money, sell what I could. Hey, I'll pay you this much money if you just pretty much, you know, let me get your birth certificate. I promise not to get in trouble, you know, or anything else. If I do, I get arrested, you can always say that wasn't me because I have a mugshot. I stole your stuff. So most people have nothing else going for them. Like, sure, yeah. So, you know, they took some money to this and that. So that was how I started living. So I started, you know, taking different names, doing that. I would have a backup every time.
Yeah, but once you get once you got the name or the birth certificate, like, did you go get an ID in that person's name?
Yeah. So I figured out which states didn't connect driver's license or which states didn't have to do fingerprints for. Right. You know, so I would go to a state that didn't connect with this state. You didn't live in this state, and just go get a driver's license under that person's name. Now I'm a legit, you know, and that's what all I would do. So, you know, there's a couple states out there. I don't know if it still is. It was a while ago, but they just didn't connect.
There's still, it's a hub system. So they have to request the photos from other states.
Yes.
So it's not like you could pull up the information from another state, but you can't necessarily pull up the photos from another state. Yeah. So same thing with the fingerprints. Even if you went and got fingerprinted in Georgia, they don't run the fingerprints. They just keep them online. They just keep them in their system. They're not running them like, hey, those don't match up with you. You're a felon. None of that happens. They use it for identification purposes if they need it, if there's an issue. But yeah, there's only like 10 or 15 states that even have fingerprints.
Yeah, and California is one of them because that's where I originally got my driver's license from.
Georgia does.
Yeah, and I know here they don't.
No.
Carolinas don't. So I've had to find out which states, because I was scared of my fingerprint because I didn't know what if it tracks. So I was like, let me go to states where they don't have fingerprints.
How about going in the DMV, sitting there with all that fucking shit and going up to the guy, like sweating the whole time, sitting there. People are talking, and I'm sitting there going, I'm standing. I got fake this, fake that, fake. Everything is fake, and I'm about to walk in and get my picture fucking taken. And there's a sheriff standing right there. They always have like a sheriff's deputy sitting
at the front desk.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, this is so bad.
At the front desk.
And then they're like, Mr. Johnson,
and I don't know about you, but I'm thinking about my exit strategy too. I'm thinking if something goes wrong or they take too long, do I just walk this way? Do I go this way? Which way can I go?
Yeah, how can I run? How far will I get? Where's my car?
Yeah. So, and I remember getting that first ID. She came back and I'm like, yes. Oh my God, yes. Walking out, I'm looking.
It's so pretty. Aren't they so fucking pretty?
Oh yeah.
It's like the prettiest thing I'd ever seen. It was like, it's like, this is beautiful.
Yeah. So, I'm like, so then I start thinking, I'm like, so I got a new name. What am I gonna do? I'm not gonna go and resort back to the stuff I was doing. I'm not gonna do like crime. I'm not gonna.
I can't get fingerprinted.
Yeah, so I can't risk going back to jail because now I go back to jail. I already have one escape charge. I left a halfway house, and in Colorado they used to. They changed that. They automatically give you an escape charge even for left and halfway house. So now we'll have 2 escape charges.
Right. What is it now? Absconding?
Yeah, now it's absconding. They changed it actually, and we'll get into that when it got changed too, because it just recently happened actually. Dealing with me. So now I got another escape charge, and I'm like, great. Now it's going to triple. I'm looking at 12 years just for that one charge. So I'm like, I can't risk it. So I'm like, what am I going to do? So I ended up, getting a regular job. I'm working at a restaurant, serving, bartending at a restaurant, doing great, this and that. So I'm like, epiphany hits me one day, and I'm like, if my son was still here, how would I want him to live? I want him to go to school. I want him to be the best he can be. He's not here anymore, so let me do what he couldn't do. I want to go to school. How am I going to go to school? So I ended up going to New York City. Not going to say the country yet, whatever. So I ended up going to New York City, walking into this country's basically like their embassy or whatever the hell it is. And
it's an embassy.
Yeah,
they have an embassy. Yeah.
So I walk in there, and I got my fake stuff. So basically I let them know that I want to go, have residence in your country or a visa to go to school. And they start asking you questions like why, this and that. I'm like, well, I heard that, your education system is great. I'm just, just blowing smoke up their ass.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, if you can come back, they set a date for me to come back. So I go back. I'm in there for about a couple hours, walk out with a visa to go to that country. Oh man, I'm thinking to myself, what else can I? There's so much stuff that I can do, that you wouldn't think about doing, and I'm
Right.
like, I'm on a run and this and that. So I end up going to that country, and when I get to that country, it dawns on me, how am I going to go to this college? I don't have any transcripts. I don't have any of that or whatever, right? So get online, find those places that you can buy transcripts and things like that.
Right.
So I buy transcripts, end up going to some college or university, whatever they call it up there. It's different, a little different up where I went, and end up going there. And the next thing you know, they're ask for my transcripts. So I'm wondering like, hope this works. Oh, you've been accepted. Oh, great. We need you to pay this fee. Oh, shit. I don't have this much money. So end up finding like there's some sort of loopholes into that. Found a loophole to where they can pay for half my schooling, all kind of things. End up going to schooling, end up graduating actually, and got a business management degree out of it. Went to school for 3 years and graduated out of that, and working, doing a normal life, and was everything else was even paying taxes where I was at, living like a normal citizen. At this point in my head, I think I really had to think and forget about everything I went through at that time, so I can not have nightmares at night of being stalked or dream. Because I would I couldn't sleep sometimes. Somebody's gonna knock on my door and arrest me. Because this is maybe especially after 3 years later down the road. So I spent about another year in that country, doing pretty good. So my visa's up. I have to leave. So I don't want to get in trouble in another country. I don't know what the charges are going to be for that. And I'm like, great, I have to leave the country. My visa's up because I don't know if immigration's going to be looking for me or whatever it is. So I had a relative of mine. He changed his name. And he goes, hey, I changed my name. How about you take my old name? I'll give you everything and you can move back. You don't have to worry about nothing because it's my old name, He goes, the only thing I didn't change is my social or whatever. But he's like, I'm not doing much. My credit sucks anyway. I'm not doing anything with it. It sucks. I pay for everything cash. But you can take my old name or whatever. So he went to court, legally changed his name. But he still has his birth certificate and everything from the old name. So I take it, end up leaving, coming back here actually. And funny thing is, when I get to border, going to the country is a piece of cake. Coming back, I was at the border for 4.5 hours.
Yeah, coming in the U.S. is an issue.
Yes, they took apart everything I had, everything to make sure I wasn't transporting drugs. I remember I had an old Xbox. They took it apart, didn't even put it back together, all kind of stuff. So end up getting through that, and I'm like, whew. And I'm in upstate New York at the time. Go to New York City because I was familiar with New York City, because I was there the first time, living there for a little bit. And then at this time, I get my relative's name, change my name to his old name. So end up moving here. I moved here to Florida. I think it was 11 years ago, actually, 2011 or something like that is when I moved here. So yeah, 11 years ago is when I moved here. Moved here to Florida, moved here under that name that I was going by. And met a bunch of friends, I'm a normal guy, met a bunch of friends and stuff like that. And this is when I was selling cars, actually. So a lot of my friends I have now were in the car business. I started selling like for Ford, Nissan, Acura, Mitsubishi, because I was a good salesman. Started selling cars, so I'm making pretty good money at that. Then from there, I started getting into DJing. Or whatever. And I'm like, okay, I can make really good money at DJing. And I just kind of fell into it by accident. So I'm making this money, and I actually end up meeting the person that I'm with now or whatever. She doesn't know anything. None of my friends know anything. I have all these friends close. Nobody knows nothing about me whatsoever.
Right.
Because I didn't want to, say anything. Because if I say something, if somebody says the wrong thing, gets interrogated, I'm done. Yeah. I didn't want to risk that. I also didn't want to put other people in trouble too, I didn't want to have like, oh, he's hard, you know, why do you
Harboring a
fugitive? I didn't want them to get in trouble for that or any of that. So I was like, if I go down, I'm gonna go down because of me, not nobody else. So end up meeting this woman. We end up we get pregnant. We have a kid. We have our daughter. We get married. Everything. Start a couple businesses. All kind of life is great. Pretty much, it is fantastic. We're doing good. We got a big 2-story house, brand new cars, living in a nice neighborhood. We got employees. So at this time in my head, I've gotten so used to living in another person's name. I think I literally believed I was the other person.
You know what I mean? Like you've got it licked.
Yeah, I got it right.
Licked. I'm not. You don't even feel wanted anymore. I get pulled over. The cops would be behind me, hit the fucking lights, and all I'm thinking is, am I gonna get a ticket? Like I'm not even thinking they're gonna recognize me. They're gonna. I was so used to it. So
yeah,
I had that I had everybody fooled. I felt good.
Yeah,
it was so far in your in the back of your mind that. Yeah, I know exactly. What you're saying. And I can only imagine having gone. At this point, how long had you been on?
This was just about 15 years actually. This is 15 years at this point. So it's been so long that, like I said, I literally blocked a lot of things out. And I think I did that on purpose so I can live how I was living, you know, as a normal person. I wanted to be as normal as I could be, you know, and be a regular person, a citizen. Right. I didn't want to be this, you know, oh damn, this guy's, because people start hearing fugitive, they think you just murdered thousands of people. They just assume things. Yeah. I would drive, have cops behind me. I wouldn't be nervous or nothing. I roll my window down and go, hey. The funny thing is, DJing, I actually DJ'd a wedding for a cop. And he had a bunch of cops there, you know, and DJ'd a wedding for him and everything. And I wasn't nervous at all. You know, I was like, let me go DJ the wedding, make the money. What are they going to do? You know, they're not going to suspect anything.
Right.
So, yeah. So, I mean, like I had friends in all kind of different places that didn't know. I was actually one of the businesses I got into, we talked a little bit about this on the phone, was mobile homes. Start buying mobile homes and renting them out and, you know, rent to own. The guy who taught me that, he's a multimillionaire. He had no idea, you know, and he knew he's meeting me. He's introducing me all these other millionaires. They have no idea. So I'm just want to live like a regular person and pretty much be like them, you know, whatever. But yeah, so me and my wife open up businesses and everything's fine and dandy. And one day I get approached by a cop, actually. State trooper is at the house, and I'm not thinking nothing of it. I'm thinking maybe somebody got in trouble, and, you know, cops questioning me. He's like, can I get your license? What's your name? Such and such. And I'm like, for what? So at this point, I'm thinking I'm invincible or whatever. So I give him my license. He goes, come over to the cop car. So I start seeing these unmarked cars come. There's like 4 of them. They're unmarked. Just a guy comes out, regular tie. Some of them don't say who they are. So I'm like, they're all law, but I don't know what parts of the law.
Right.
So he goes, do you know this guy? Opens up a file. It's my relative. So I look at the picture, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know him. He goes, you sure you don't know him? I go, no, I don't know him. He go, we believe you probably assumed his old name. He changed his name or whatever. And I'm like, I don't even know who that guy is. He goes, well, you know, we're going to take you to jail for, I don't remember what the hell it was, for giving a false ID or something like that. And I'm like, what do you mean? Da, 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 da. So anyways, they end up handcuffing me. I didn't even know they had this. They can fingerprint you right there on the spot now. They have equipment to do that. Yeah, they like a scanner, right? Yeah. So you just put your hand on it or just your thumb? Your thumb. Yeah. So they fingerprint me on the spot. Nothing. Damn. Nothing comes up.
Are you serious?
They did it. They were in front of the house for a good hour, fingerprinting me 9 different times. Nothing came up. They're so frustrated. They did the good cop, bad cop routine with me. They had the bad, you can go to jail for this and that. You're going to be marked as a John Doe in jail and you sit there and ride. I'm thinking like, that's not going to happen, whatever. So then they put me in another guy's car. First thing he does is he turns on XM and turns on rap music. First thing he does, and he's singing the lyrics to the song, and I'm looking at him like, seriously, for real? You think that's whatever? So he's like, yeah, so where you from? And he's trying to get, I'm playing along. I'm like, yeah, playing along. I'm like, yeah, we can both play this game. I sold cards, buddy. I could sell water to a well. So he's like, and then he starts getting to a serious question. So who are you? I'm like, who are you? I'm like, well, who are you? He goes, you're not going to tell us who you are? I'm like, you know who I am. That's all I kept saying. You know who I am. I didn't tell them the fake name or anything. I just kept saying, you know who I am or whatever. You know who I am. No, we don't. Yeah, you do. Well, I don't know to tell you if you don't know who I am. We're going to take you to jail. So eventually it ended up taking me to jail. Took me to jail. They booked me. The charge was when you go to DMV and get a false license is a word. I can't remember. You can probably Google it. Probably come up. It's here in Florida actually. So they booked me on that charge and a couple other misdemeanors or whatever. And the bond was like really low, like $3,000 or something like that or whatever. So of course I'm thinking like, I'm not going to be in here that long. So they're like, yeah, you're going to be screwed, buddy, when we go to fingerprint you and booking, So they fingerprint me, do the handprint and all that. Nothing comes back.
I said, nothing came out the first time. What's going to come out?
Nothing comes back. So I'm sitting there and the guy that's in the tie, he's talking with like the sergeant of intake over here. And they're pointing at me and I'm looking at them like, okay, whatever. So I'm on the phone with, my girl and she's like, yeah, we're going to get you out. Da, 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 da.
She's still thinking it's all bullshit.
Yeah,
like
she doesn't really know everything that's going on or whatever still. So she bonds me out, gets me out. And when she gets me out or whatever, I still really don't tell her everything. So now I'm thinking in my head, how am I going to tell her everything or whatever? Because at this point, we've been together for about a good 4 years too. So it's been a while. We have a baby together and everything. So I'm like, how am I going to tell her, explain to her all this stuff that's happened? And she's with a friend of hers that bonded me out too at the same time. So I'm like, how am I going to tell both these people, what's going on?
They're right.
Yeah.
They actually.
Yeah, they're right. And this is what's going on. How am I going to explain it? Is she going to tell me, go back to jail? They're going to, what am I going to do? So I'm sitting here thinking about what am I going to do? So I get a call and the call is from that same cop. He goes, hey, just to let you know, they weren't supposed to bond you. You weren't supposed to have a bond. Jail messed up.
Yeah. So, but I do.
Yeah.
And I'm out.
Yeah, so
are you out already?
Yeah, I'm out.
Oh, nice.
I just got home. So they called me 3 hours later or 2 hours later, something like that. It was really quick. He goes, you weren't supposed to have a bond. And they gave you a bond. They weren't supposed to let you out of jail, really. They were supposed to keep you in until we figure out who you were. But they messed up and the shift change happened or whatever. And I got out during shift change or whatever. So that's how I got out. So he goes, so let's let you know, we know where you are, but we're going to give you a chance to redeem yourself, whatever it is. So I'm like, man, what am I going to do? So anyway, I ended up caving in and was like, okay, you got me. Turn myself in. I still didn't tell them who I am. Still didn't. Well, when I turned myself in, they figured out who I was. And they were like, yeah, Mr. Pate, we know you have an escape charge. You've been on the run for a long time. Man, these cops are taking selfies with me. They were taking selfies while I was handcuffed. They were high-fiving each other. Da da da. They're telling my woman because she's sitting there crying. They're like, "Yeah, you might as well get somebody else. He's gonna be in prison for a long time.
What a dick move."
They're like, "He's gonna be in there for years." Da 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 da. They take me to jail. At the jail here, they're explaining what happened. Everybody's looking at me like I'm some star. The intake people are like, "Wow, you were on the run for that long." The girl's like, "How did you do it?" Da da da. She's like, "I won't tell nobody." I'm like, "I'm not telling." So everybody's like, got these. The nurse comes, they check you, and the nurse is like, "I heard you on." So everybody's like I'm the star in jail, pretty much. So I'm sitting in jail. Was here in jail maybe like 3 or 4 months. Ended up hiring a private attorney out here. I had to take care of my charges out here, which were like for getting the fake driver's license, stuff like that. But when I got arrested, though, they interrogated me for about a good, I think it was 3 to 4 days, somewhere downtown in an FBI building. Interrogated me forever because I was even working at the airport in JFK Airport at one point. I was doing stuff that I was not supposed to be doing. So they were trying to figure out how I did what I did. I was interrogated by intelligence officers from a couple states, one even here, because he was wondering how I even got the license in the first place.
What about the other country? You said you didn't want to mention the name of the country.
Yeah. So because I plan on having turning my story into a book, stuff like that. So there's a lot more details.
Okay.
As well too, that I want to kind of keep the people, a little hanger.
Okay.
There's a lot of details of some of the stuff I did. So they're asking me all these questions. And yeah, the other countries, they actually came down personally and started asking me, how did I even get there? What did I do? They did not believe me at first. They thought maybe I bought all this information, or maybe somebody on the inside helped me out.
That's what they're always concerned, that there's somebody on the inside working with you, and not that their system failed.
Yeah, so they didn't want to admit that I was able to outsmart them. They wanted to make sure nobody helped me. So they were like, if you telling them you did it, I'm like, nobody helped me. There's nobody to tell no one. I got so frustrated at one point, because I don't know if you know about interrogations, but I got so frustrated at one point, I just made up a name. I was like, yeah, Henry helped me. And they started writing down Henry. And I'm like, yeah, Henry works on 3rd floor, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, this and that. And then they come back, there's no Henry on the 3rd floor. Right. They're more mad at me now. And I'm like, well, you guys are pressing me, so I'm just going to give you something. If it's fake or lie or what, I'm telling you, there's nothing. So yeah, they're interrogating me. I even had Department of DOA or whatever the hell it was, even questioned me on the phone. They questioned me. They were trying to look for my wife to question her, but they couldn't find. Never went to her house. They went to one of the businesses we own. They even called my mentor, the one that helped me out with the mobile homes. They called him as well too, and he hangs up the phone and calls my wife. He's like, "Hey, these people, DOA or whatever, is trying to question." He's like, "Don't talk to them. Don't talk to them." So they called him a couple times. He ended up just keep hanging up. Never got a chance to talk to them. Like personally or whatever, but they were trying to get information out of other people.
Right.
So yeah, they're interrogating me. I gave them just enough. I gave them enough information that, they wouldn't charge me a lot of stuff, because I could have got charged with a lot. Thank God I didn't. So they basically were like, we'll let you go ahead and take care of your Florida charges, and then after that, you're gonna get deported back, or not deported, but what do you call it? Sent back to Colorado or whatever.
Right.
So I take care of my Florida
extradited.
Stuff. Yeah, extradited. So I take care of my Florida stuff, 3.5 months or whatever. Plead guilty to because I'm on camera right there and getting a fake license. I can't beat that.
Right.
So plead guilty to that. Lawyers like, good luck. They're also telling me there's a good chance they might not pick you up. This is from 15 years ago.
Yeah, right.
They might not even.
Yeah, people don't understand that sometimes they'll have a warrant, but if it's not like there are different types of warrants. Some warrants, it's like if you go in the state and get found in that state, now we'll grab you. But we're not going to go fly out there, pick you up, drive you back. Or we're not going to do all that.
Yeah. So I guess there's an extradition, because when you waiting to get extradited, you go to court every week here. And the reason why they send you to court every week to see its judges through video is to make sure you're still there, because they're only allowed to hold you for a certain length of time. Then they have to let you go.
Right. If the other state doesn't come get you.
Yeah, so I waived my extradition rights, and my lawyer's talking with the extradition officer here in Florida, and he's like, to be honest with you, it might not come get him because it's been so long. I probably wouldn't waste money on getting him, because the guy hasn't been doing nothing. He's been living a life.
Yeah, he's been 15 years, and he hasn't committed any additional crimes. Like, he's not a problem.
Yeah, so they had, I think it was 21 days. I don't remember exactly. So I think the 19th day or 18th day, they wake me up early in the morning, 5 o'clock. Hey, yeah, your ride's here. Because at this time, I'm all the cops, they know me, and they're blah, blah, blah. So they're like, yeah, your ride's here. So let you know it's gonna be here in a couple hours, and get dressed, and I'm like, oh, and they're like, we're sorry, man. We're hoping for you to to be cool, man, or whatever. Because they're looking at me like, yeah, some of these people in here deserve being here, but you got your head on straight right now. You go back and live your life. So they pick me up, go back out to Colorado. Now, at this time, my wife is calling every attorney she can think about.
But your wife, by now, you've had this discussion. You've explained to her,
we
right?
explained what we could over the phone, because remember, she didn't know still even until I turned myself in.
Are there newspaper articles? Like, is she reading articles, or is there anything like that?
There's nothing at all. So
it's just from you.
Yeah, just for me. So she didn't know until she spoke with the police, and they told him, yeah, this is his real name. He's been going by this and da-da-da. We don't know what else, but this is what his real name is.
Because there are articles.
Yeah, so she didn't know anything about that, because you got to know my real name to pull that up.
Right. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so she didn't even know it until they told her. So when we're in jail, of course, she knows my real name now, because, of course, she's putting money in my books and visiting. So she knows now. But She doesn't.
Hey, listen, if she's visiting and putting money on your books, you're good.
Yeah.
You're straight. It's when you tell them and you don't hear from them anymore.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, it's not going to
So,
work.
you know, I'm worried about that. I'm like, oh, great. She's going to divorce me, da-da-da. So, yeah, I don't know. But she stuck by me. She got my lawyer for me in Florida. She went and called every lawyer she could in Colorado. She did everything she could to make sure that I would get out because of, you know, how I'm living today was different than what I was doing before.
Right.
So she was like, he deserves to keep living his life. So we just talked as much as we could. You know, their phones are recording on jail.
Yeah.
So I couldn't give her too many details. I never could because I couldn't say nothing. I know they're listening to my phone calls, especially after interrogated. I know they are. They even told me, we're going to listen to your phone calls. So there's only certain things I can say. So by this time, you know, I get transported back out to another state. She's calling every lawyer she could. We even called a public defender just to see what they would say. Oh my God. They pick up the phone. He goes, well, I could probably give him a plea deal for 20 to 25 years. So we're like, yeah. All the private attorneys are saying, yeah, we'll probably get him 2 to 4 years prison time. We can probably get him that. So I'm preparing mentally to do 2 to 4 years prison, maybe even 6. Now I get to Colorado. Laws have changed, come to find out. Now you only have to do 33% of your time. And I'm like, oh, great. If I get 4 years, you know. And not only that, the lawyers are saying, we'll get you your time served because you already had time served. You already had prison time. We'll get you that time served on top of that. So you might not even see a DOC. You already have your number. You might just turn around and get right back out on parole or whatever.
Right.
Or probably can't leave the state. Right. You probably have to move to Colorado or whatever.
But you got to pay the private attorney fee.
Yeah, this and that.
What's that? How much is that?
Oh, man. Whew. Well, we paid ours. I think it was like 12 grand or something like that. But
okay.
It wasn't that bad.
Yeah, state's not bad. Like if it's federal, he'd be like,
oh,
okay, so give us $25,000 and I'll start working against it. And
ours is 12, and then most of them were taking, you know, payments, pay half up front and the rest, which wasn't bad. So we ended up getting my attorney. Shout out to my attorney. He was great. He wasn't even from the area we were from or where I was at. He was actually like 3 hours away. He was a big time attorney by the name of Rubenstein. Did great. He basically told my wife, he goes, listen, I'm going to get him probation. And she's like, well, he's like, it's funny you're calling me with this. He's like, I just had a case with a guy who was on the run for 8 years, pretty much did similar same thing. He left the halfway house, got an escape charge, moved to Florida, owns a company now, turned himself in. I got him probation. I'm going to do the same for your husband because he's been on the run even longer than him and been doing even better, went to college and graduated and everything else, you know.
Yeah, but the other guy turned himself in. That's a big deal.
Yes.
Like that's a huge game changer, but you have double the time.
Yeah.
Never committed a crime.
Never even got a speeding ticket. Never done any of that stuff. Never, you know, only time I came face to face with the law was that DJ event I told you about. That was it.
Right.
So he tells her I'm going to get probation. And she's like, all right, we're going to go with you then, you know. So he comes to visit me in jail. And he gives me this speech, and he has this vibe about him, like that I just like. You automatically want to listen to what he's saying or whatever. And I'm like, man, I should have had you for my very first charge for the plead guilty to false admission of pawn shop or whatever. So he's telling me, yeah, you remind me of this movie. There was a movie a long time ago about this kid that stole something, and he got away from the detective. It was like some old movie back in the 60s or 50s. And he's like, and the kid got away from the detective, and the kid got older. And the detective was still on his trail because the detective was so mad that he could not get this kid. He goes, this is what you remind me of. Now, just because you stole something as a kid, does that mean you should pay for it as an adult now? And I'm like,
the hurricane?
I don't remember. And I'm thinking, I'm looking at him like, I'm believing him. Like, yeah, you're right. I shouldn't have to pay. You're right. So yeah, we end up going to court. He ends up getting that. The biggest thing was that escape. Ends up getting that escape charge dropped down to a misdemeanor.
It's not an escape.
Yeah,
it's absconding. You know, escape is from a secured facility where you have to break through a fence, you have to jump a fence, you have to crawl through barbed wire. That's a real escape. You walked off.
Yes. So he gets it dropped down to a misdemeanor, time served. Not only that, but they also found out that the counselor who told me that I could go,
right,
but then changed their mind, got fired for stealing money from the halfway house. He investigated into that and found that out too. So there was a lot of corruption that was going on in this halfway house or whatever. Now, I'm not saying it's their fault, but, you know, there's a lot of corruption that was going on. And that worked in my favor too. So because of all that, and then the DA was like, yeah, we'll drop it. He didn't go just to go off. He went to go try and, see his son, da, da, da. So they dropped it down. Then once they dropped it down, the agreement was for an open sentence to the judge up to 4 years. So it could be probation. It could have been a halfway house. It can even be prison time. But the escape charge was dropped. That was the biggest thing. So I'm thinking to myself, once again, I'm already prepared to do 4 years. I'm like, I can do 4 years or whatever. I'm not going to do it anyway. I'm going to do
you're going to do
if that and get right back out. So
a year and change.
Yeah, and I'm already been in jail 7 months already.
Yeah.
So I'm like 33% of I'm going
You're probably going straight to a halfway house practically.
Yeah. So, I get interviewed for halfway house, interview probation while I'm in there, things like that. The weirdest thing, why I'm in jail, they have a psychiatric nurse, and they see you all the time out there. He comes and sees me. He goes, I remember you. He goes, you're the one I told you, or you're the one that was in here when your son died a long time ago. Da 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 da.
Wow, that long? He remembered
that long
you?
He's been there, and he remembered because I was the only one, I guess, that
had happened to?
That it happened to, and he had to say something like that. He's like, Luigi, it's a parent, but not a kid, or whatever. Yeah. So he's like, my son was only 3 years old. He's like, I remember, because he said he remember seeing, it was on the news and everything when the car accident. He goes, I remember you. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, oh man. He's like, well, I hope the best for you, man. Da da da. So all the police in Colorado, they're treating me like a movie star. Like, I can't believe you've been gone from us for so long. They're treating me really good. So I like really had no complaints of being over there. They treat me really good actually. But end up going to court for the open charge or open case, to see what the judge says. The judge I had was he was really understanding. So he comes out and he goes, just to let you know, I got about 40 reference letters on your name on your behalf. That was in the back reading. I read up on your case. He goes, your case is so old that at that time, your case was still on paper. We lost some of the stuff because it didn't get transferred in the computer. It's so old. He goes, you're just like a movie of what you did. And he goes, I've heard you turned your life around. And he goes, I want to hear, your side of the story, but let me hear from the DA stuff, like everything first. So, the DA's pushing for me to do 4 years. Just scared if I get probation, I'm not going to see me for another 15 years. My lawyer turns into a bulldog. And he's like, he just basically eats the DA up. And I'm like, yeah, get him. And then the judge like, I want to hear from you. I want to hear your story from the beginning to end. I want to hear how you grew up. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I basically told him everything from the beginning and how I grew up. And he goes, sounds like to me, you grew up as a good kid and you just got to a point in life where you didn't know what to do and you rebelled. And then after you rebel, it's, they say you don't grow up till you're about 28, 29 for a man. And he goes, it sounds like when you turn 29, 30 years old is when you grew up and you decide you need to take responsibility and do things, Yeah,
by then it's too late. You've created a complete fucking chaos for yourself.
Yeah. And he goes, do you love your life now? I go, I love my life. And he goes, do you regret anything? I go, I regret everything I did, but then again, I can't regret too much because I wouldn't be where I am now. I was like, I think I learned from all that. It made me who I am right now, And then he goes, I like that answer. And he goes, tell you what, he goes, I don't think a halfway house is going to work for you. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm about to go to prison, probably 2 years or whatever. And he goes, I don't want to send you to prison either. He goes, I want to save the Department of Corrections for people that need to be corrected. He goes, right. You already corrected yourself. He goes, I'm just going to give you 2 years probation. You promised me you do this, serve your probation time, do not get in trouble, gave me community service hours, pay your restitution, and I'm going to demand your probation be transferred back to your state where you came from, nice. ASAP. And he goes, but I'm not going to let you go today. He goes, I'm going to make you serve 60 more days in county jail just because I want you to sit and think how it could have ended up and your life could have ended up. I want you to get time to think about that. And I was happy. I was like, I'll take those 60 days. I went back I started working in the kitchen. You work in the kitchen and knocks time off. Now, this is also right in the middle of the pandemic, right in the middle of COVID. So they're releasing people.
Yeah.
So because of COVID, I got released early as well, too. So I only did, I think, another like 28 days and then got released early.
Plus, working in the kitchen, you get to move around a lot.
Yep.
The day fly. People don't realize how quickly working makes the day fly.
Working there like 12 hours a day or something like that. 13
sitting in a
hours.
cell, it's like the fucking clock is. It's like you think you're sitting in there for 12 hours or 20. It's double time.
Oh yeah.
It's the worst.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I was ate good in the kitchen, and basically came back to Florida and had to start some things over with again. But I looked at it as hey, I rather.
What year was that? Sorry.
Oh, this is not long ago. 2000. Because actually, my stuff is gonna be up in April. So, like I said, this was when the pandemic hit. Was that 2019? I think it was right when COVID hit.
2020.
Was it 2020?
March of
Yeah.
2020.
Yeah. So that's right when. Yeah, because my court
March
date was
of 2020.
April.
Okay, cool.
So it was right when I was in there right when COVID hit, actually. So it hit at a perfect time for me because I got released early, and they didn't really want to imprison people that they didn't think was gonna be violent and sit back on the streets and things like that. So it all kind of played into my factor. I was like, thank God for COVID. Got sent home and early and started over, and now trying to get everything straight and turn this into a story.
Yeah.
As you see, so.
And right now you're doing TikTok. You just started TikTok.
Yeah, so I started
Did
TikTok.
you start a YouTube channel?
Actually, I have it up, but I didn't put anything on it. So I had a video for my YouTube channel, which is Fugitive TV. I was gonna put Fugitive TV.
Nice.
So I was gonna put the video up, but I remember talking to you, and you said make sure your video is over 10 minutes long.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Mine was at like 6 minutes or something.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So I'm actually adding more content onto it, so I can actually get that first episode uploaded next week. It's gonna be episodes about my what I've done in my life, pretty much what I discussed today.
Yeah.
Maybe get into a little more detail. My TikTok is Fugitive TV as well, and what I'm doing on my TikTok is I'm just giving little snippets of basically everything I've been through or what I've done. I'm even gonna let people, because TikTok you can get more. I would say you can get more interactive with people. So I'm even gonna let some people, even like leave a reply, ask a question, and then I'll come back, with an answer to your question. How'd you do this or something like that, whatever. If it's something I can answer, I'm gonna let you know, whatever, things like that. So, but yeah, I started that maybe about 2 weeks ago, actually, and it's actually there's not a lot of followers on there. It's about 170, but those 170 came within 2 weeks, So
Right.
I'm averaging about 15 followers a day right now. So it's picking up pretty good.
Well, yeah, definitely. Like we can put the links for the TikTok, right? You can put it for the TikTok and for the YouTube channel in the description.
Okay.
So on the YouTube,
Yeah.
and you can answer questions in comment section. Like I answer questions all,
that's
all
right,
the time.
that's right. Oh, on my Instagram channel, I changed that to Fugitive TV too. So I'm having it all unit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I changed it all to Fugitive TV. Easy to remember, Fugitive TV.
Okay. What are you gonna do on the YouTube? Are you gonna interview people, or are you just gonna keep doing your story? At some point, your story
is gonna end.
It's gonna end.
So yeah, eventually after I'm done with my story, I do want to interview people. I do want to start interviewing people. I do want to start talking about even
How do you find people that were like fugitives though?
Oh, that's the hard part.
Like
Yeah,
you could
maybe-
interview me.
Yeah.
I did it 3 years.
Maybe find a secret location and put a mask on them or something like that.
No, not. They don't have to be on. They have to have been on the run. Like
Yeah.
they don't currently have to be on the
Oh
run.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
You could
Well,
scour the newspapers and try and find.
think
them
about it.
within-
What's the channel? Vice TV.
Yeah.
Vice TV, or they have gangsters. They're on doing drug deals with them and everything. Like,
I
how are they
know,
doing
but-
that?
yeah,
I don't
that's-
want to be in the middle of a drug deal, but I'm like,
It's
how
the,
are they doing?
it's first of all the YouTube thing. First of all, you got to get monetized. Like
Yes.
that takes that's 4,000 watch hours and 1,000 subscribers.
okay,
But and even then when you have to get people think like you're making that video's got. Depends on what your RPM is, or they call it a CPM also.
gotcha.
Like YouTube calls it an RPM, but depends on what they're charging you for your RPM. Because like I'll have a video that has like 1,000. It'll have like 100,000 views. Like I have like one video that's got over 100,000 views. Like, but that video total made about $1,000.
Yeah.
Well, about $1,200. So most of the videos that make like 5,000 have to get 5 or 10,000 views.
Yeah.
Only make maybe $50 or $100. Like they don't make a lot of money. So and so you've got to. It just takes a long time. So you got to figure out what your niche is and do it in a way that it doesn't become a full-time job that doesn't pay you.
Yeah.
So you kind of gotta it's a bitch, bro.
Oh man.
It takes forever.
Well, one thing I forgot to tell you actually. So that very first charge I had, false information to a pawn shop. The private attorney, the one I just had, he looked into that because he wanted to go all the way from the beginning. Come to find out, I didn't even have to plead guilty to that. He goes, it was never false information to a pawn shop. You put that you literally own a TV for a couple weeks and that a friend gave it to you.
Right.
And they never showed you that. You didn't have to plead guilty. You never stole the TV or any of that. You could have took that to court and the judge probably would have thrown it out and you would have never had a felony to begin with. You could have.
Oh yeah, if you had a decent attorney, he would have got all. He would have got all that thrown out.
Yeah.
If you had a decent attorney, I never lied about anything. It was I told you everything I knew about the TV. I didn't know it was stolen. Like you can't charge me for a TV that he gave me that I didn't know. Now if you could prove I knew it, now I messed up because now I'm trying to pawn stolen information, stolen property.
You got it.
But you weren't guilty of any of those charges.
Nothing, and I've pled
and that
guilty.
Spiraled.
That spiraled everything. Started the whole thing. That one thing. So whoever, man, if you're still out there, that started everything, man.
Well, so what else? Anything else? What else are you doing now? Or
well, right now, actually, like I said, I still have the couple businesses I'm doing now with the mobile homes. I'm getting back into that actually, because we sold the mobile homes to pay for my attorney.
Yeah.
So we're getting back into that. I'm also starting a group up to where we're actually going to develop a metaverse game as well. So I've been heavy into researching metaverse, and even was buying some property in the metaverse because you can make a lot of money off crypto and things like that.
Right.
So I have a crew, and we're getting together. We just got to get a couple more coders, and we want to start our own metaverse page, our own metaverse game. Instead of participating and giving somebody else some money, why don't we start our own?
Right.
And so I got a few things actually, that I'm trying to do because when I leave this earth, I want to leave an empire. It's pretty much what I want to do. So I want to have my kids straight, and I don't want them to go through anything I went through and no MCI jobs and it gets bankrupt. I want them to have their own stuff, and I don't want them to pound any TVs or anything like that.
Where's the guy? Remember I told you about the guy that I've had a couple of guys contact me, and did I send you the information of the guy?
You did. You with the mobile home?
Yeah, with the mobile home. The guy actually contacted me. He bought a couple of mobile homes and turned them into rooming houses.
Yes, you did tell me that.
Yeah,
actually.
in Jacksonville.
Yeah, you did send that.
His looked pretty good, right?
Yeah, it did. I took a look at that, and that was actually a pretty good concept because I was telling you that
Well, I did a whole video on not on mobile homes, but on renting out rooms. I got a whole video on it. Like I talk about changing the locks, the whole thing. Listen,
they call it house hacking, don't they? Isn't that house hacking?
No, I mean they call lots of things hacking. Like that's just a term. That's just they'll say like real estate hacking. It's just whatever. It's just like it's like a secret. It's a secret recipe.
Yeah.
But I'm telling right now, like I think that's a great idea. That's a great idea.
Yeah, rent out the rooms, 2 people per room. But I was telling you before, actually, too, we were even thinking about doing it for housing the homeless because if you have rooms for the homeless, you get paid from the state. The state pays you, as well too, and you get a guaranteed check every month.
Plus the
from that.
Veterans.
Yes.
Yeah, the veterans thing too. I appreciate you watching. So if you like the video, do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notifications of videos like this. Also, leave a comment in the comments section and share the video.